degree of your function is 3. Okay, so why does the degree matter? Well, the degree matters because at least you know which quadrant it passes through, right? Because if you're thinking about an odd function versus an even function, right? This is what I tell my students to really remember during the test. So if you're looking at, let's say, a negative leading coefficient, if it's an even function, so say for example, you have negative x squared, right? You would have to, so this is the one that we talked about earlier, you would have to look at quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, right? So you know where your function is going to start and where it's going to finish. So it's going to start at quadrant 3 and then you're going to finish at quadrant 4. So that's the position of where you're going to draw. However, if you're looking at y is equal to negative x cubed, you know that it's not at quadrant 3 and quadrant 4 because it's actually at quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. Does that make sense? So when you draw this graph, you know that if it's degree 3, therefore it's an odd function, right? And if it's an odd function, you're supposed to expect that this is what the quadrants, or this is how your graph is sort of going to look like. So these are what you call like templates that I like to tell my students to remember during the test. So you have an idea of where you're going to start drawing the graph, because otherwise it's just going to be overwhelming. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to have a number line, and then you're going to graph all of your, sorry, not graph all of your zeros, but plot them, right? So this is -4, 0, and 3. Okay, so we know that this is all of your zeros, and then first of all, because it's a negative leading coefficient, it's an odd function, you're supposed to start on top of your x-axis, right? This is your x-axis. And then because you know that the multiplicity of x plus 4 is 1, that means you're going to cross, right? Okay, so here's the thing. If you have an odd exponent or odd multiplicity, you cross. Okay, maybe we can just write that here. So odd multiplicity, that means anytime you have an odd number and it's multiplicity. So say for example, you're looking at 1, 3, 5, 7, right? All of your odd numbers, you're going to cross your x-axis. And if it's an even multiplicity, you're going to bounce, right? So you're only touching, you're not crossing. Okay, so let me just abbreviate that. So cross, and then you're going to bounce, right? So in that case, you're going to cross. You're starting from quadrant 2 because you know it's a leading coefficient of a negative sign. So you're crossing this, right? Again at 0, because its multiplicity is odd, you're going to cross this again, right? And then you're going to cross another one for 3, right? Okay, there we go. So this is how your function is supposed to look like. So you're just crossing, right? But, okay, moving on to